you back to All right. So we does it show live on Facebook yet? I know I just made Penny the host. Can we work with her to no longer be the host? We can you see my screen now? All right. So we want to thank everyone for joining our Facebook Live and our Zoom conversation in regards to community safety and police accountability. We are your hosts. We are the Maywood Together Party, showcasing police accountability as well as talking about overall community safety. I'm Nathaniel George Booker, and I am running for mayor for the village of Maywood in the April 6, 2021 election. Behind me is my counterpart running for trustee, Trustee Antonio Sanchez. We also have with us tonight Deborah Vines, as well as Melvin Lightford, who's running for trustee, and Juwan Diane Williams, who's running for our village clerk. So we have a lot to discuss in regards to community safety within what we're going to try to make, to the best of our ability, 60 minutes. You all also see our candidates who are running for Maywood Park District Commissioner, as well as School District 89, Maywood Public Library candidates, and Triton. So as we say, a big part of the Maywood Together movement is understanding that it takes more than one board and one taxing body to truly move the village of Maywood in the right direction. Now, with that being said, what we're going to be discussing tonight is police accountability, community policing, community pride, see something, say something, youth engagement, workforce development, and then health systems and violence prevention. Jumping right into it, we're going to start off with talking about the police accountability factor. Now, a lot of times when we talk about police accountability, the first question is how many officers do we actually have on the police force within the village of Maywood? So, as far as sworn officers and staff within the village of Maywood Police, we have a total of 76. And what you're seeing on your screen is what totals those 76 police people. Now, when you look at how many patrol officers we have, that makes up about 32 different patrol officers that are within the staff. So, a lot of times when we talk about accountability, we definitely know that we have a good 36 officers on the team, or 32 officers on the team, but when we talk about 76 officers, we need to make sure that our officers and our police force overall as a whole is more visible to the community. I think that's one thing that we can all agree on. We want to have our police officers not only there in numbers, but also in visibility within our community, because that is the only thing that is truly going to move us forward towards a more prosperous community. When we look at our, I'm sorry, when we look at our January and our February 2021 reports, we are very happy to report that so far there have been zero homicides. But one thing that really jumps out in this report to me is looking at the fact of one, we have a lot of residents who during this snow pandemic discussed parking citations. So if you have had any issues with parking citations during the snowstorm, and you believe that you would like to dispute them, you can most certainly reach out to our community liaison for the police department, Carmen Rivera, and discuss the opportunities with that in regards to the citations. But I also wanted to highlight that a lot of times some of our other residents will report that there aren't many parking citations written. So if you look at the collectively, just in the first 2 months of the year, we wrote over 4,000 parking citations. So we've listened to the residents and definitely focused on getting Chief and his team revved up in regards to making sure that parking citations are a focus because that is a large complaint that is received. We know that there are some other opportunities that exist within our parking, and we definitely look forward to addressing those in the future. But I just wanted to highlight a lot of times people will say we don't have many citations being written, and I just wanted to showcase in the first 2 months over 4,000 citations were written. Another thing that becomes alarming on this report.
Can you let them know where you're getting these figures? Oh, I see that the police chief. These figures are actually coming from the police chief.
Yep. we look at the other issue, I'm looking at the seized grams. So when we look at cocaine and we look at heroin, those are things that are heavily impacting our community. And when we get towards discussing more of opportunity of community pride and community engagement, we'll dig a little deeper into the drug abuse and substance abuse issues that plague our community and talk about different ways that we'll focus on getting out of them. A lot when we think about talking about overall police accountability and community safety, we know we have camera systems that are over a decade expired and outdated. So we definitely need to make sure that we are updating those systems. Now, in order, last time Chief said, in order to update those camera systems that are over a decade old, we need $220,000 to do that. Now, we know that that is definitely something that we will be looking at in the 2021, 22 fiscal year to get implemented because when we think of our overall, funding for the Village of Maywood being $50 million, we most certainly can find $220,000 to get all systems updated.
I just want to chime in really quick. Not sure, but the governor did sign a police reform bill, and part of that bill is specifying that have the cameras on the police officers. Something super important to know as well. It isn't just having the actual camera on your chest. It's also the software and all of the computers that you need. You need to have towers, you need to have computers in-house to have the capability to host, to save videos, to be sure we have these videos. And I think that's where we need to also be transparent. The 220,000 is all of that in a nutshell. It's a pretty big nutshell to adhere to, but yeah, it's the cameras, it's the electronics, and the in-house towers and software and all that good stuff.
Definitely. So that leads right into where Tristan Sanchez was discussing the body cams, but we also want to look at in regards to talking about the camera system that actually captures license plates. So a lot of times when we talk about the crime that takes place in the Village of Maywood, it's not necessarily residents who live within a village that are committing these crimes. There are people who are jumping off the expressway on First, on Ninth, on 17th, committing crimes and jumping right on the back from the expressway and heading into the city. Now, once we install these camera systems to actually capture the license plates, we've already spoken to the chief, and this is something that will cost no more than 15 to 20,000 to the community to actually get installed. And this would help tremendously in tracking those people who are actually not Maywood residents that are coming into the community, wreaking havoc, and then leaving us to pick up the pieces. So that is definitely something that we want to discuss, talk about, and work on. Yes.
Something that's really important to know as well, a lot of these towns that are on interstate corridors, the majority of their crime is also high numbered off of the exit ramps. You have the Park, Forest Park, and of course ourselves. All of these towns that are local towns coming in through 290. 290 is the corridor for the majority of, well, a lot of the crime. We also need to be aware of as to why it'd be great to have these cameras up and running to capture who comes in and who leaves out in a hurry. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So the first part that we wanted to hit on was really quickly was talking about our overall community policing accountability factor. And I don't really see any comments in the chat right now. So with that being said, if there are any questions, comments, or concerns to jump into the chat box, we most certainly can address that in the next part. But the next part that we're going to be discussing is talking about our community policing factor. So when we talk about the community policing factor, there is, community-oriented policing strategies and services from the U.S. Department of Justice that we can most certainly implement within our community. And when we think about implementation throughout the community, we can talk about organizational development and transformation, community partnerships, and problem solving. So when we think about those things, we're scanning the issues, analyzing what they are, becoming responsive, and then assessing what we've been doing. And in looking at community policing aspect, when thinking about it from the standpoint of these three components, when looking at the three components, the first one we talk about is the community partnerships. So those are other government agencies, other membership groups, nonprofit services, private businesses, and media. Then when we talk about overall community focusing on organizational transformation, it's agency management, organizational structure, personnel, and information systems and technology. And then before, when I spoke on the SARA, it was the scanning, analysis, response, and assessment. So in looking at those three areas in regards to focusing on those, that's the first part of what we think about when we talk about community policing. So before we get into any more other deep things, I just want to chime in and see if Trustee Sanchez or Trustee Lightford wanted to jump in and discuss anything and say anything about the community policing factor before we go into more of the community pride thought process.
So by any means, we're definitely not encouraging anyone to be Batman and fight crime, but it's also important to realize and observe our surroundings. Reporting the issues and knowing the issues is probably one of the leading ingredients to solve supposed crime. Not asking anyone to go stop a robbery, especially nowadays with these carjackings. We had Detective Diaz recently chime in and talk about the do's and don'ts of carjackings. You know, God forbid this happens, a car is definitely much more important than, I'm sorry, your life is definitely much more important than the vehicle. Just let it go. Let the vehicle go, and as long as you're safe, that's definitely more important. You want to chime in?
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about is we need more policemen on our force. We don't have the full capacity of law enforcement that we are supposed to have. Over the years I've been there, we've always seemed to be short. I've seen weekends where there were crime happening on Sunday because there was no one policeman with a car on the force. And that was on 6th Avenue and Roosevelt. So what we need is make sure that put in our budget that we have the adequate amount of police force. If someone goes on vacation, that don't mean that we were short. We should have enough people in our position to make adequate force for our people.
Now, that's where the accountability part comes as well.
Yeah.
The number of officers that we have necessarily doesn't mean or equate to the number of officers that are actually in uniform on the streets. That's something that we definitely have to build a bridge with our police department and say, hey, well, technically the number is 32 officers in uniform, but how many really are out there? Or if so, you know, do we need more, or what is it that we can help and either make a judgment call or both, if need be.
Yes, one thing important to me, we should never be short of policemen because it's a weekend or somebody's on vacation or something. We should have an adequate amount of police force to take care of us as a community.
I agree. So when we think about not only making sure that we have enough of the police department involved, but also making sure from a community standpoint that we get involved with our community policing aspect, focusing on the organizational transformation, the problem solving, and the community engagement is going to be a big factor when we think about revitalizing and reimagining what safety in Maywood looks like. One of the other things in thinking about what safety looks like in the village of Maywood is going to be discussing, thinking about overall transformation with talking about things that make us more community pride centric and oriented. When a community has more pride in it, we also know that it's a deterrent for crime to happen, and it makes it less likely that it's going to occur. So when we think about those types of things, what comes to mind is Village Pride Village Wide, which we're going to kick off on April 24th, 2021. Now, this is a program that one of our residents, Loretta, came up with in regards to discussing possible ways of making sure we're nurturing our ground, we're nurturing our youth, we're investing in our community, we're picking up trash, and we're showing unity within the community and preparing our future to also have that same pride.
Now, hold on really quick. I want to mention something. Um, and I don't know if I should mention the part of putting signs up in the Bible. We're in the campaign mode, and because of yesterday's windstorm, making sure that signs are not in the road, our signs are not, laying in the middle of the road where it could be a problem or whatnot. I'm driving around in the community, and just today, I was on the south end. I'm like, man, these houses are so nice, and the area was very, very clean, very proud. Like it seemed like that little block of neighborhood, the neighbors were all about it. I saw a couple of folks yesterday breaking the leaves and picking up stuff. And I know we have our little corridors that we need a little more extra focus on, but that made me proud, knowing that we do have our neighborhood that does have proud residents and proud homes, and you can see it. You can definitely see it. But this is a great program. This is an incredible program.
Yeah, I mean, so it's been going on for nearly a decade at this point. But what we're focused on last year with the pandemic, instead of it just being a big one day of Village Pride Village Wide, we turned it into an entire summer series. So throughout the summer series, we went through different areas throughout the community, and we did various different trash pickup opportunities, but we also did investment with making sure that we actually were going to the various different community gardens so that our residents could benefit from some fresh produce. We met at different churches, we met at the Prairie Path, we met on just different streets that we knew were very dirty. And it was a great opportunity to us also to participate in getting to know our neighbors and getting to know each other as residents. So definitely look out. If you have not signed up yet, you can go to the maywoodparkdistrict.org, VPVW, because in 2020, as a wrap up, we had 17 different community events where we picked up over 15,000 pieces of trash that we captured and threw away. And we captured it in an app called Literati. But as you can see on the left-hand side, we also had a community calendar that we released. Every month, there were different opportunities to get involved and engage. So look out for these different opportunities. And if you haven't signed up on the Maywood Park District's website to get these different updates, please make sure you do so. Another big thing that we focused on, I think, when Trustee Sanchez talked about see something, say something. So we focused heavily on discussing what our issues are within our community. And when thinking about the see something, say something factor, we know that there are some opportunities that exist with cleanliness and overall presentation within our community, whether it be very high grass that's even higher than a fence, ensuring that it gets cut down and it gets taken care of. And one big thing I will say that even in this specific photo, what's not showcased in this picture is how big that tree was and was leaning over to the roof of that house. That tree is now cut down, and that tree was cut down by the village of Maywood. So a big shout out and kudos to the village of Maywood for ensuring that that tree and those limbs were not leaning over to that neighbor's house, because this was an abandoned home. Now we do have the abandoned home process that actually takes care of our streets, takes care of our alleyways, and takes care of different opportunities that exist. So realistically, if you truly do see something and say something within the community, we want to make sure that we're providing community pride from making sure that we're cleaning it up, but we're also making sure that we're nurturing it by planting great produce for our residents to benefit from, while at the same time making sure that we have pride by ensuring our alleyways are clean, our streets are clean, and our residents are taking care of their lawn. And for those properties that don't have a resident in it and they are abandoned, we do receive state funding grants to get those lots taken care of as well. So we want to make sure that we're getting that taken care of.
I want to chime in really quick. I want to chime in really quick and speak about the application, My Civic. It was a tough battle, but we finally have approved to switch the current application or program that we use to the My Civic app, an application we can download on our phones and snap a picture of it and send it to the program queue, where then in turn our staff will receive the actual issues. You can be anonymous, or if you don't want to be anonymous, it's your choice. But taking a picture of all of those tires that were dumped and sending it to us, sending it to the village, so that at least we know that there is that issue, and where then it can be placed in the queue and see the durability of how long it lasts. It's a wonderful app. I'm excited for it, and it gives everyone in the town the ability to actually have the power to snap that picture, send it to the village, and hopefully rectify the problem.
Yeah, one of the great things that the My Civic app is going to bring is, as you talk about, it's community accountability. It's not just police accountability, but it's also every angle of staffing accountability. No longer will people be able to say, oh, I've made these phone calls, nobody's answering the phone, I've reported this multiple times. The beauty of the My Civic app is we'll actually be able to see and report things that are happening within real time and track when they actually have been taken care of. And if they haven't been taken care of, what we can do is reach out to our residents and actually get a better understanding and reach out to our staff and say, hey, this has been reported in the system for quite some time. I was reviewing the monthly report. I was reviewing the weekly report. Why is this taking so long to be closed out? So realistically, that's going to be the beautiful part of truly implementing the My Civic application into the community. Because again, once we all have the opportunity to have our voices heard and have staff be accountable, because we pay tax dollars so that their salaries can get paid. And I think holding them accountable and being transparent and what that accountability looks like is extremely important.
Correct.
One of the other things that we were going to highlight is talking about what the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus just got passed in the state of Illinois. Now, Trustee Sanchez had talked about the first one that's been signed, which is the Criminal Justice Reform, Violence Reduction, and Police Accountability, which focuses on crisis intervention, conflict de-escalation, limiting use of force, transparency, accountability, oversight and enforcement, detainment, and then officer wellness. The other part, when we know that we're talking about community development and community wellness and community safety, that we can't go without acknowledging is what just passed and signed into law this past Monday, right here in the village of Maywood, is the Education and Workforce Development Bill, HB 2170. Now that one focuses on early childhood education, K through 12, restorative justice, higher education and COVID-19, and workforce development. Now, some of us were there yesterday when we actually had the bill signing. Now, the beauty about the bill signing is our great, very own homegrown Senator Kimberly Lightford, who's our Senate Majority Leader for the state, made sure that she has fought for this for years. And she also fought to have the bill signed at Proviso East High School in the library by our very own Governor Pritzker. It was a wonderful situation where we were able to have our seat at the table, talk to the governor in regards to issues that we know are coming down the pipeline, but also just have a seat at the table and ensuring that these resources come to our community and come to those communities that have been disenfranchised and that are lower income communities. One big issue, as you guys saw when we first talked about the January and February report, was the study talking about the heroin use in suburban Cook County area. Now, if you look at the report, as you can see, this was just 2 weeks ago in the west and southwest suburb, talks about Worth, but also talks about Maywood, saw some of the most overdoses and deaths. So when you look at when they ran this study, there were more than 50,000 opioid-related hospital cases in suburban Cook County, which resulted in over $800 million in hospital bills. Now, we know if we focus on education in regards to an early age for our youth, to affect mostly our Black and brown community and our African American males, these are things that we can get in front of so that instead of spending $800 million on hospital bills, we could spend $800 million on resources for our youth and for our children.
Amen.
What we just launched out of the Lightford Recreation Center in partnership with the Maywood Public Library, My Brother's Keepers Alliance, the Explore Program, Strengthening Proviso's Youth, Proviso Dream Chasers, Proviso Township, Athletic Connection, Danka DBL Basketball League, and the Brown Brothers Salute Foundation was a career and life readiness initiative. Now, if you haven't learned about the Career and Life Readiness Initiative, you can go to the maywoodparkdistrict.org and /YEC. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of the programs because we realize when we invest in our youth and when we invest in our community, this does lead to a safer community and a more engaged community.
I have to give a shout out to all these great leaders, these men and women that are engaged in that program. That is such a great program, an outlet for our kids, an outlet for our youth. And, you know, sports is just a wonderful outlet.
Yeah. And what Trustee Lightford is not jumping in to say that I thought he was going to jump in and say, Trustee Lightford has been leading the charge in regards to youth engagement with taking our youth fishing to actually have them engage with one another in a peaceful way. So I know he's going to take my mouth away and he's going to speak on it right quick.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
12 years now, this is my 12th year. 90% of the time I was taking kids fishing on the third Saturday of each month, of June, July, and August. The reason why I was doing this is my instinct. My heart told me I'm tired of small casts. And that's the truth about it. That's what motivated me. I couldn't stand the thought of another child being hurt. They need somewhere, I need an outlet. There's children growing up in Maywood that are grown that have never been to the Brookville Zoo. I haven't been to any place of recreation where all these opportunities are there for them. They haven't had the opportunity to receive. Well, the reason why I was taking our kids fishing because I wanted the kids to know north of Lake Street and south of Lake Street, the two different communities, they united. Between the ages of 10 to 15, I took those boys and girls fishing for free. I took them so they know one another. Instead of being a kid on the next neighborhood, there'll be a kid they went fishing with. They'll know to work with each other and be proud of it. Thank you.
Great. So the biggest thing about making sure in regards to our youth, Trustee Lightford always stresses, we want to talk about moving the community forward. We want to talk about handling the drugs. We want to talk about handling substance abuse. We want to talk about business development and economic prosperity for our community. We have to invest in our youth. So this is the focus that's truly getting us to invest in our youth. When I was growing up, we had the DARE program. So the DARE program is definitely something that we're focused on bringing back to our community and to our youth. So when you look at the DARE program, it talks about, core lessons in regards to early grades, elementary school, middle school education, high school, but also parent and community. So when we talk about drug abuse resistance education is what the DARE program focuses on. And when it also focuses on not just the core lessons, but it also talks about the enhanced lessons from early childhood all the way thinking about high school to parent and community. So when we think about, there is a full lesson in regards to vaping, in regards to opioid usage, in regards to cocaine usage, in regards to abusing and misusing cannabis, mental health, and then reinforcing various different skills. These are the types of things that we need for a healthier mentally, physically, and financially community in order to move us forward in the right direction. And we know when focusing on community safety and police accountability and partnership, this is something that definitely will help our community move forward. The other thing that we're doing for our youth is investing in the Exploring program. Now, the Exploring program is a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, with the Boy Scouts of America, that has 12 different areas of looking at workforce development, nurturing, and development. We know all of our youth aren't going to go away to college, but we also have the opportunity for them to focus on trades, them to be prepared to go into the military, and for them to be prepared to go directly into the workforce following using this aspect of exploring different things in various different career fields. So with that being said, there is a brief video, and I want to say brief, it's a very brief video, and then we'll talk more a little bit about the Explore program.
who I am,
seizing the day,
and making the most out of the opportunities in front of me.
I'm unleashing my best work
I'm igniting my passions, finding out how to do what I love to do,
in ways I've never known before, and learning from those who've been here before and ain't got there before.
I'm exploring my future. I am an explorer. I am an explorer. When I'm exploring, here's what I thought. I'm not an intern.
Nope, I'm out of track. Right.
I'm home. But I feel like exploring prepares me for my future in a different way. Where else can I get this kind of experience? Learn about the things that I'm passionate about.
Great mentor.
Fields I'm interested in.
Where can I do?
I learn by doing.
I belong by exploring. Discover your
So when thinking about the Explore program focuses on the development of our youth. It focuses on career opportunities. It focuses on life skills. It also focuses on citizenship, character development, as well as leadership experience. And these are the components that we know are going to help thrive our youth into a better future for each other. So as we said, it breaks it down into 12 different career fields, but amongst these 12 different career fields, it also exposes them to over 200 different career titles that fall under each one of those career fields for our youth. Another big thing that we're going to focus on within our youth development, which we know will lead to a safer, more engaged community, is the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, which was started by then President Barack Obama. Now, the big focus is that the My Brother's Keeper Alliance it focuses on specifically men of color. And we know our Black and Brown community that we have in the village of Maywood could definitely use some male mentorship for our youth coming up in the world today. So first part is getting a healthy start and entering school ready to learn. Reading at grade level by third grade. So making sure every third grader is able to read at a third grade level by the time they get there. Graduating from high school ready for career and college. Completing post-secondary education or training. Successfully entering into the workforce. And then keeping kids on track and giving them second chances. So that's going to be a big part in regards to our nurturing and our development of our community. And what we're going to need from that approach is to have our local leaders, our nonprofits, our corporations, our philanthropic thought processes, as well as our residents engaged and fully committed to shaping the priorities and the initiatives of the Alliance to help us move forward for our youth to make sure, again, that we focus full holistically on being a community that is safe and productive. We've already began focusing within our youth in regards to helping them find employment, also helping them. We did do the one field trip when we first launched the Explore program in February of last year, where we took the kids to the auto show, and that was literally 2 weeks before COVID kicked in. But we have programming where Triton has come to the Library Recreation Center to showcase the different programs, trades, and degrees that our youth can get, many and some of which have no cost associated with them. But also, we've been working to ensure that our youth have access to the technology that they need to move our community forward and best practices that also keep them off the streets, keep them away from the gangs, and keep them away from wandering around and getting into mischief, because we know idle hands is the devil's playground.
I have to chime in really quick. If you have not visited the Lyford Center, please, after COVID, you have to make it on your to-do list to visit it. The programs that will be available it's such an asset to the community. Get ready for it. I've been told to get ready for it.
All right, so in thinking about that, the one big thing that we also talk about is creating a learning culture for improved organizational and individual performance. So this is going to be the focus that focuses on those who have probably maybe completed high school or maybe dropped out of high school, all the way up to the age of 40 that truly need to have help getting into our workforce. When we look at the unemployment rate of the village of Maywood, we already know that our unemployment rate is nearly 25%. And that's in part due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, but we already were very large and exceeded by the vast majority of our surrounding communities, as well as the national average and state average in regards to unemployment. And when we look at those that are under the age of 35, that number nearly doubles when we think about our residents here in the village of Maywood. So when we also will be launching is focusing on adult training and development. When we think about adult training and development, this will be a holistic approach that focuses on everything from training on job placement, presentation skills, working on your business writing, helping people conduct interviews and annual reviews, focusing on problem resolution, social responsibility, collaboration and teamwork, and body language are some of the many things that we'll focus on within our young adults to ensure that we have an overall healthy community because we also know if we don't focus on those that are under the age of 40 that are unemployed, they will be able to tap into those that are under the age of 20 to focus on getting and getting into submission that really isn't necessary. So if we do a holistic approach for our adult development as well, to make sure the workforce is ready, make sure social skills, character building, and overall availability for prosperity is available, we know it will be a safer and better community for all. And then everyone asks the question like, how are we going to pay for this without raising taxes, right? So a lot of these programs have been paid for through state funding, federal funding, but most importantly, some of our businesses who receive tax incentives to be right here in the village of Maywood. So when you look at the different businesses on the screen, those are businesses that are currently active in the village of Maywood that are receiving tax incentives, many of which they have agreed to partner with our great programs to help ensure workforce development, to make sure that when they have jobs available for our residents, instead of them posting on Indeed or instead of them going out for a headhunter or trying to post throughout the social media world, first thing that they're doing is actually taking out ads in our local village paper, but also sending this information to staff, to our elected officials, to the park district, so that when the person who's handling the workforce development aspect of the park district can have a bench strength of what employees and what agencies can be sent resumes immediately. So if Seaway Supply has availability for a position, they would send that to the Maywood Park District person who's handling career and life readiness, and that person will be able to say, hey, I have 5 people that I can send in for interviews right now. And that goes to, although they're getting a tax incentive, we're also getting a new employee that works within the village of Maywood that now is filtering that dollar back into the community by paying their rent, by paying their property taxes, and by utilizing those funds and resources throughout things that happen within the 60153.
Can I chime in real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So my family owns 2 businesses here in the community. And as business owners, it's your, I don't want to say an obligation, but it's also your responsibility to give back. If this community embraces you, why wouldn't you embrace it back? It's such an important thing to do, in my personal opinion, as a business owner. One of the venues that we own is Mariella's Banquet Hall number 2, the smaller venue. We receive a small incentive, and it allows us to open our doors for some of the, here, a perfect example, we have multiple kids that have come out of East, Proviso East, to come and given us a hand, taught them the ropes, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I will not make anyone do something that I won't do. So if my staff sees me clean the toilets, guess what? It's an example for our youth to come and say, hey, the boss is cleaning the toilet, so you know what? I'll clean the toilet. And whether it's mopping, whether it's cleaning, whether it's vacuuming, you want to encourage that kid to learn and either learn a trade. Because face it, not all of us will be accountants, attorneys, doctors, etc. But guess what? Out of me giving a shot to a young kid coming in the door, it gives him an opportunity. And I'll give you 2 perfect examples. I have 2 young men that graduated out of East, and they both have worked at Mariella's. Currently, unfortunately, we've been closed. This week will be a full year that we have been closed due to COVID, going through some hardships that we never had thought. But anyway, getting back, these two young men work for us, and you get to know them, and you get to question, and you get to talk to them and say, hey, what do you want to do? One of them, oh well, I like law enforcement. Okay, great. So then you lead him into the proper protocols. Now he's in a program with the Bellwood Homeland Security, and I'm proud that he's following in the footsteps to achieve his dreams. Another young man as well works for us, and hey, what do you want to do? Well, I'm not sure about college, but I like mechanics. Okay, great. Well, what about being a fireman? He entered the Explorer program, and now he is pursuing his career as either a paramedic or a fireman. And like I said, it is your responsibility as a business owner to give back and embrace that. The toy drives that we do every year, just a simple conversation with as a mentor is more than enough, in my personal opinion, more than enough to guide a young mind in the right direction.
Perfect. All right. So as you can see from one of the various business owners who actually helps with this incentive program, it's a great opportunity for our youth. The last big part that we're going to talk about in regards to investing in community and for community safety and prosperity for all is health systems through violence prevention. So understanding and health systems and violence prevention and thinking about the element of health system prevention and um, so in thinking about that for the health system through violence prevention, the one part is public health departments and working with our public health departments because we know not only during this pandemic but in general when we saw the story in regards to substance abuse and opioid abuse and thinking about the pandemic and what that mentally has done to some of our youth as well as some of our seniors and those in between. We need to make sure that our community organizations, our social service providers, primary care facilities, emergency departments, our hospitals, our anchored institutions, and various entities that focus on behavioral health and mental health are at the table collaboratively working together to ensure that we have a healthy community and that we also focus on violence prevention through our health. So what we'll be doing is partnering with our secondary schools, we're partnering with early childhood development, the welfare system, our daycares. We'll make sure that we have an overall community information system. 2 years ago, we launched the MaywoodTogether.com website, which is not affiliated with any of the political life that's going on right now, but this is a site that's purely community knowledge and community information. Right now, it is not asking for any donations. It's not publicizing who's running for office. There's no advertisement that the political season is going on right now whatsoever. But in making sure that that community information system is in place helps our residents have a go-to shop. So it goes to that and making sure when we talk about community information, job placement, youth opportunities, youth engagement programming, where you can get more information in regards to COVID-19, where you can get information in regards to food justice and having food resources, ensuring that you're aware of the different activities that are going on with our various partners, such as Coalition for Spiritual and Public Leadership, the Quinn Center, Proviso Partners for Health, COVID Equity Response Collaborative with Loyola. All these different entities focus on community information systems. We also, because we're talking about police accountability, this is the time to work with our law enforcement and our justice system to make sure that we are giving those youth a second chance. Another thing that I was involved in when I was a youth that was called peer jury. So in peer jury, if a youth actually got in trouble as a first time offense, instead of them being put into the system and instead of them being arrested and having a record, it'd be some sort of community service or some business give back that the youth would have to do in order to be given a second chance. And we also need to make sure that we're partnering with our media to make sure that we are actually appealing to our youth, not just appealing to ourselves, thinking that we're appealing to the youth, and getting our faith-based institutions more involved and engaged in the community. Last time I checked, we had over 60 registered churches in the village of Maywood, and we need to make sure that they are stronger anchors for overall health system, violence prevention, and community engagement. Big shout out to various different churches that are participating and involving themselves in community engagement. We have different churches that are giving back, such as Impact Church. We definitely have Pastor Pharrell from the Proviso Baptist Church that's been giving back. We have Empowerment Church. We have Next Generation Church. We have PT Man. We have so many different churches that are giving back. We have different churches and different organizations that collaborate to give back every other week in regards to Second Baptist Church or Holy Corinthian Church. Providing food and resources to our residents to make sure that we're okay. But we need to make sure from a health system and from a violence prevention system that we're not just thinking about it from a police aspect immediately, but that we're looking at it from the opportunity of how do we as a community overall become better and truly engaged. So when thinking about it from that perspective,
You have questions?
when we say a couple of questions that came in, one of the things that was said was, can we get our high school students involved in our cleanup process? Absolutely. So this year, what we've already started conversations with are the principals and the school systems and the school districts to get more involved and engaged. School District 89 has been one of our partners. School District 209 always brings out the band to kick everything off. But we definitely want to make sure that we get our youth truly involved and engaged in this process. And with partnering and building this out through the Maywood Park District, it also allows them the opportunity to see the other programming that goes on throughout the entire year. And it not only does that, but it helps our high school students acquire some of their community service hours and have the park district signed off on those different things. So these are great opportunities that exist for our youth. These are great opportunities that exist for those that are in need of mental health, for those that are in need of substance abuse care. When we talk about community policing, when we talk about community safety, when we talk about, police accountability, what comes to my mind is just reimagining what community truly means and making sure that we put every aspect of it to the highest priority. Another question that came through was the turnaround in regards to the My Civic app that we had spoken about. When we talked about the My Civic app, shout out to Evan for posting in the Facebook group the video for the My Civic app to get better understanding in regards to that. So there's another post in regards to my grandson is interested in pursuing forensic science in college. He is currently in his freshman year of high school. It would be great if there was a program, an Explorers program that could be led while he's in high school and get the chance to work after school in this field, something like that with the science STEM. So the Explorer program does actually have forensic science specifically listed as one of the jobs that can be worked. STEM as an overall program is involved with the Explorer program, as well as a great partnership with Triton College that has a STEM area as well that has programming for that. But definitely, when you guys go, we will have on the maywoodparkdistrict.org /YES site. You can definitely get more information in regards to the program. When we did the launch last week, there was a presentation on that program, which will go live on the Maywood Park District site tomorrow, so that residents will be able to review the full presentation. If you have not gone to the Maywood Park District website to sign up for information and update, please do that, because as soon as that video goes live, that email will be sent to all who are signed up and registered under the Maywood Park District for more information. And that's under their main site, their main page. So we also have definitely a shout out to God Heritage Full Gospel Ministry, because they are also among the churches that provide community service hours, but they definitely partner with organizations such as Firehouse of Dreams, as well as Best of Proviso, in making sure residents provide and receive the resources that they definitely need as well. So definitely shout out to God's Heritage as well. I don't see any more questions within the Zoom chat, and I don't see any more in the Facebook group, and that hits it. We are literally at our 8 o'clock mark. So just a couple of quick reminders. I am Nathaniel George Booker, candidate for mayor for the April 6th upcoming election. With me tonight, we have Antonio Sanchez for trustee, Deborah Vines for trustee, Juwan Diane Williams for clerk, and Melvin Langford Senior for trustee as well. We are truly hoping that when early voting starts on March 22nd, you can early vote March 22nd all the way through April 5th. If you're going to do early voting, you can do early voting at the Maywood Courthouse, or you can do it at the Merrill's Park Village Hall off 25th, or the Bellwood Village Hall off of Broadview. Again, the closest to you would be the Maywood Courthouse, which is off of First Avenue near the Expressway. That starts March 22nd, and the normal hours are really like 9 to 5, and some of them go through 7 o'clock. But if you are signed up for our maywoodtogether.org, you will receive a full update. One other shout out that we do have an event tomorrow for residents who would like to come out and meet the candidates. We have our other candidates who are running for office for School District 89, for the library, for the Park District, and for the Triton School Board. Juwan Diane Williams, who's running for clerk, along with Deborah Vines, who's running for trustee, will be hosting this event in support and in a partnership of Women's Empowerment Month. So this is the month for women's history and celebration. And these are all the women who are on our slate. So with that being said, did either one of you want to say anything before we close out? Or did Juwan, I know you're online, if you wanted to tap in and say something as well before we close out.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you. Vote for the Maywood Together Party. We are out here working hard to bring you great programs and bring you great news you can use.
That's our very own Deborah Vines. Tony, did you want to tap in?
I just want to reiterate the whole part of bridging the gap between everyone. It isn't just us. It literally is Maywood together. Bridging the gap between the library, the Park District, Triton College, and opening doors for whatever may be. These programs are vital for our community to thrive. And that's why we say Maywood together. I know that today was talking about police accountability, and that's another bridge that we need to form and build and strengthen so that our community is safe. And we talked on very important points, and accountability is pretty much our platform for this group. And it's great, the importance of bridging everyone together and coming in as a whole creates community. That's all I want to say.
Definitely. We're taking home.
Well, I can say one thing, since the Park District, the village, and all those entities, we haven't been together in over 30 years. And now we're finally coming together, Maywood together, bringing all our libraries, our park, our village. We're all coming together for the first time to be as one, which it should have been in the first place. That, I'm so grateful.
And with that being said, we'd like to tell everyone thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
God bless, Godspeed. Don't forget to vote. If you would like to participate in the process even harder and become one of our volunteers, you can always drop by our campaign headquarters at 906 South 5th Avenue. You can also go to the maywoodtogether.org website. And if you go to maywoodtogether2021.org, you'll be able to sign up to register to be a helper. So we go walking, you can make phone calls, we're doing letter writing, but we're truly doing everything that we possibly can to ensure that we have the highest voter turnout that this community has seen in over 2 decades. That is our mission, that is our goal, to truly collaboratively work together to reimagine the village of Maywood, execute on a strategic plan, and move Maywood forward together. Everyone have a blessed night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.